Well, chances are you know someone with a victim mentality. They go around blaming others for their lot in life. Well, here's the problem. That woe is me attitude isn't just causing other people to feel sorry for them. It's also robbing them of their God-given promise. Take a look.
Ken Harrison is a veteran of the LA Police Department and a successful businessman. He says many people are held back in life by what he calls a victim mentality. Instead of making hard choices, they make excuses. In his book, Victors and Victims, Harrison tells how to identify your core values, how to build powerful relationships, and how to be happy as you fulfill your goals and dreams.
Well, Ken Harrison is here with us now. And Ken, welcome to the 700 Club.
Thanks.
Your book is amazing, Victors and Victims. Boy, I poured through this, and of course, as you read a book like this, you think of all the people you know who fall into the two categories. Right. But for you, you're a former police officer, and so you saw people who were really struggling, and sometimes at their worst, I'm sure many of them, victim mentalities.
Yeah, you know, we were back in South Central Los Angeles during the height of the Crips and the Bloods gangs and whatnot. We were making 2 or 3 felony arrests a day.
Good grief.
And, you know, when you do that, you spend an hour and a half, 2 hours with these people, and I would always try to talk to them, engage them. Why are you dealing drugs? Why are you out robbing liquor stores? Why are you? And I would hear all these stories after story after story.
I'm like this because.
I'm like this because, yeah. Exactly. And what I realized was that everything after because is just an excuse.
Your whole book is about those who have a victor mentality and those who have the victim mentality. Define, as you do in the book for us now, what those two things are.
Well, what happened was as I got successful in business and I started to hear people's excuses in business and in the church, hear people's excuses in the church, I started realizing they were all the same excuses. Yeah. And so from victims, they just don't want to make choices. So they refuse to make a choice and they want somebody else to be accountable for their life. Victors make choices. They understand my life is what the choices that I make, and I'm accountable for those choices.
You say in the book that victims will not change. Instead, the future of America depends on the reaction of the victors. Talk about that.
Victims can suck away an amazing amount of time from people. And I think Satan is always out there deceiving and always throwing people in our way to keep us from the mission that we're on. And so we've got to understand, as Christians, we're going to go to the cross no matter what. We're going to go after Jesus, and if people stumble, if they fall, we're going to help them, we're going to pick them up. But if they want to sit down and not make choices, then we've got to keep going.
One of the things that defines a victim from a victor is their communication style. You talk about 4 of them. Go through those.
Yeah, well, it's huge. So as our business was struggling, a business coach, John Cundiff, came to me and taught me these 4 things, which were amazing. And they
I thought your phone conversation with him was amazing. I don't know if I would have had the courage to answer yes to. What did he say to you? Are you willing to be?
You have what it takes to be a ruthless leader.
Yeah, oof, yeah. That's scary.
Yeah. And I didn't know how to answer that question. And what he basically taught me is it's not personality styles, it's how people think, how they approach life. Mm-hmm. And so one group of people loves to be pithy, straight to the point, not a lot of fluff. That's my style. My wife's style is one called an authority. They like details. They like to analyze things, and they don't like change. They want security. So if I communicate with my wife, I need to communicate in a way that she can understand, which is she wants all the detail. Let's have a long conversation. If she communicates with me, I'm thinking, let's get to the point. It's helpful then, in business and life, if we understand each person's communication style, how they see things. So I told you 2 of them. The third is a very non-confrontational, we call it power. These are people that want, let's get a buy-in from everybody. Let's make sure everybody agrees before we go. And the last style is people who are very focused on freedom. Everything they do is about my own freedom. How am I going to make my choices, and don't put me into a box. When we understand who we're talking to and we understand where we come from, it's great. So I can realize that I can sometimes be overly blunt with people, and to some people that's offensive. To people who are my own style, well, that's refreshing. Oh, this guy just got
like knowing where you stand.
Exactly.
It's really interesting because even the power definition wasn't what you would think power would be. I mean, you'd think power would be, I said it, and so we're going to do it. Right. But this is the consensus person.
Right.
I mean, these are so unusual. How did this change the way you ran your business? You got out of the police officer role you were in. You had a company of your own. How did it change? Your company's very successful. How did this change the way you did business?
Well, I was able to talk to people in a way that they could hear me. So, for instance, if I'm talking to a control, personality, and I say something they don't like, they're going to let me know right away. Well, I disagree. They're going to be confrontational. If I'm talking to a power personality, they're not going to let me know. They're going to be more passive aggressive. So if I offend a power, they're going to go and they're not going to tell me, they're going to tell everybody else. So when you know who you're talking to, I realize, okay, if I talk to a control and they didn't say anything back to me, we're having a good conversation. If I'm talking to a power and they're not, well, they may not have really gotten, so there's body cues that you get, and it helps not just in business, but in marriage, in raising your kids. I mean, how I've raised my kids has been dramatic. My ability to communicate to my children and know where they're coming from back by knowing how they communicate.
Is that style that you're talking about just a part of each person's personality, or how do we become one of the four?
Yeah. I'd say you're born that way. And,
really?
There's definite there's ways that you go positive or negative. And so, for instance, taking a control like me, I know I'm in a bad spot because controls default, so their positive virtue is wisdom. Controls tend to see the bigger picture and have wisdom. The default is anger. So I know I'm in a bad spot. When I get angry and frustrated with people and go, what's wrong with these people? I know, okay, I need to stop.
Just take a step back.
And each style has little keys that say, if I'm going there, so for power, it's frustration. So there we go.
You know, Ken, I see so many young people, because I do a lot of work with children who are orphaned or vulnerable, who have that victim mentality. It's a common thing, especially for someone who's been institutionalized. Can we change that? If you've got a victim mentality, how do you become a victor?
You got to get rid of fear.
Yeah.
Fear is what keeps you from taking it. I mean, you've seen that, right? And we also have to let people know you haven't made a choice. I mean, the difference between a victim and a victor is choice. You make a choice, but you haven't made a choice until you've made action on that choice. It's the same as faith is. Faith is action. It's not good feelings. It's not, I haven't made a choice to do something until I've actually experienced the pain of making my choice.
Yeah. Right? And all choice has some element of pain in it.
And
but
risk.
it's also the gain.
That's exactly right.
It's an amazing book, and I want to tell you, it will change your relationships with people, whether it's in your business, with your spouse, with your children, your neighbors. It's all there. You really need to read it. Victors and Victims. I couldn't put it down. It's excellent. It's available wherever books are sold. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Fascinating. Great to have you here.